Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of On the Mic with Mike. I'm your host, Mike Larkin, and joining me today, it has been a while. I'm so happy to have her back on for a round two. She is adult star and content creator, the one, the only, Miss Roxxie Moth. How are you, Roxy?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for asking. How are you doing?
I'm good. First and foremost, it has been a while, and I'm glad that we are getting a chance to do round two because for those who have not checked out Roxy, the first interview that you and I did will be in the description of this fine show, ladies and gentlemen. But this talented son of a gun over here has done a lot of great work recently with her many vids and just in general. I gotta say, Rox, you never disappoint with your work, and it's always a blast checking out your content because you do the damn thing.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are very
I
welcome.
try.
Oh no, I look at it like this. I think with any performer in the adult entertainment industry, there's such variety that comes with it, much like within life. I think having that spice and that creativity and just overall, dare I say, the overall je ne sais quoi and the overall flavor and the overall vibe to it. There's a lot that goes into the levels of making pornographic film, content creation, everything. There's really a level to the art and the craft, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've been at this for a little while now, so I like to think I've figured out some tricks.
Oh, of course. And
I've
I mean,
been very lucky in my career. So
no, I have to give you credit too as well, and that's what I have a lot of respect for you for, man. Because whether you're in front of the camera or behind the scenes, I think you pay a lot of attention to detail and everything that goes into it. So again, much love and kudos and respect. And one person I have to get involved here because her and I have done our thing in Lingerie Fighting Championship LFC, and you've had a lot of great work with her. Let's talk about that girl Ziva Faye, whether you're talking about armpits, tickling, and just everything that you two have done from the fetish side of things and the creativity that you two have done. I got to say, talk about working with Ziva because she's a ball of energy. She's energetic. She's entertaining. And doggone it, she's a looker as well. Talk about working with Ziva.
Ziva is just wonderful. She's one of my favorite people to work with, and it's always like kind of a different experience working with her too, because I mostly shoot like hardcore stuff. So usually I'm doing a lot of sex, a lot of, penis and vagina kind of stuff. And she doesn't shoot that. She just shoots fetish. So it's always like really fun getting to work with her and getting to shoot stuff that I might not otherwise get the chance to do. So always a good time.
I gotta say, first and foremost, not only was I entertained by what y'all do with armpits and punching and fetish stuff, but I think much like the adult entertainment thing and how we always kind of like equate it to fetishes, I mean, there's so much uniqueness, there's preferences, and I gotta say, you on your side of the things with the fetish side, man, you did your thing, Ziva did her thing. I think not only do you two have great chemistry with one another, but I think when you have the right partner, dare I say, it takes two to tangle, if you will, Mr. Roxy Moth. I think that really sets up a lot. And I got to say, I love the fact of seeing you two together just because if for those who've not seen Ziva Faye, she can kick some butt and take some names, but she does really showcase that internal and external beauty.
Yeah, she's just the biggest badass. I adore her so much. She's one of my best friends in the industry.
Absolutely. And I got to say, knowing what you also get to do, Miss Roxy Moth, I think what I love about it too as well, you're always able to adapt to anything as well with what you do within your craft. But one thing I always do respect about you too as well, I think from what we've seen within your photos, and I got to put this over because this one over here takes a great photo. From everything that we see from the imagery side of things that go into your work and just the photo side of things, I got to say, man, the shoots come out great and you really know how to really apply that sexiness, like we mentioned here, that sexiness, that voluptuosity, if you will. I think that goes a lot of ways too, from the subtleties, intricacies, and nuances that we see in film and we see in imagery. That goes a long way to really entice the consumer, right?
Yeah, for sure. I've always kind of subscribed to the belief that a good performance is a lot more important than like the production aspect of it. So that's always been my focus, is like trying to get the best performance out of me, try to get the best performance out of my scene partner, the best chemistry we can manage, because I think that's where most of the appeal of a good scene comes from for me.
And I think when you look the real deal sex appeal vibes, if you will, that side of it, ladies and gentlemen, I got to say, one I got to put over here is I had her on the show not too long ago. Got to put this out to the forefront because this one over here makes a hell of a roommate. When I'm going to go here with this, folks, is Miss Belle Dewar was on the show. We talked about that scene, and I got to say, man, very raw, very passionate. I wanted to ask working with Belle because it came across my eye. It came across my scene doing research with Belle. But just in general, the scene that you two great was, dare I say, magnifico, if you will, to put it in that perspective, ladies and gentlemen. Talk about working with Belle, man, because it's very hot, it's very passionate, and y'all made for a hell of a time.
Yeah, that was for Trans Roommates, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Gosh, I've shot with so many people at this point. I like sometimes get like the finer details of certain scenes mixed up. I do remember working with her. She was wonderful. That was a fantastic scene, and always good to be on set with not just with her, but with trans roommates as a company. They always give me good scene partners and wonderful people over there. They've always done good work for me. Always make me look good. So.
What I love about that too, as you said, the company name, shout out to trans roommates. But I think what I love about it too, as well, is I think when you think of different types of art form and that sweet, sweet fantasy baby, to quote Mariah Carey, if you will, Miss Roxxie Moth, there's one of those things that really takes into the fact of when we think of like Sex Teachers or Naughty Americas and many different various sites of that from back in the day. I think who doesn't love a great scene featuring roommates, whether it be college roommates or what have you, that really not only piques the interest, but it may be cliche, but there are some things in life that really do provide that sweet, sweet fantasy, like I mentioned, and that gravitational pull to a film. But who doesn't love a good roommate on roommate type of vibe, man? Because not only is that often, but it happens in today's day and age and all in all in life.
Yeah.
So it goes well.
I've fucked all my roommates.
I mean, put it in the bluntest of terms, yes, because again, who doesn't? I mean, whether you're experimenting in college or what have you, who doesn't? Yes, to the bluntest of terms, yes, ma'am.
Actually, I didn't fuck all my college roommates, but that's because I lived with a bunch of gay guys in college.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
So that's a lie. I've fucked all of my roommates since college.
Okay, fair enough. All right, and now you're going to put me on the spot here because now I got to think about back in the days during the college years. Yes, I think I probably, and you know what it was too, because everybody was experimenting. I mean, growing up on Long Island, Suffolk County Community College, ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't like that type of party, but I will say this, yes, I probably one or two, but mostly I was mainly outside the college dorm, if you will. But yes, I do know what you're talking about. Oh my goodness, you just brought up happy memories for all of us that went to college. Jeez Louise. But no, I think that not only that fantasy and college is aside in the education system and curriculum, if you will, that's sometimes what really makes a great scene, the raw and passion. I mean, another one I'll put out to you. I mean, you and Sherry Allwood, man, this is the one where y'all were in the hotel room. Look at these skyline.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, we got to put this over because that is not only one of my favorites of yours, another raw and passion one, man. But again, who doesn't love just like that view? And then anybody could see it, doesn't matter. It's taboo. Just putting yourself out to the forefront, man. I love that type of vibe.
Yeah, that was a really fun one. So Sherry and I actually go back like a pretty long way too. She was the first girl scene I ever shot, was with Sherry. She was only a couple of years into the industry at the time, and I was brand new. And this was 2019, 2018. Mm-hmm. This was a long time ago, and I remember that scene was one of my favorite scenes as well, and that was just getting to work with her again after so many years, because she moved away from Vegas for a while, so she's been up in the Northwest. So getting to work with her again was really fun, and that hotel room was awesome. Just the floor to ceiling windows. It was so pretty, and it was good. It was a good scene.
I think what makes it for me,
so hot.
Agreed, man. And I got to put this forward, y'all, is you two, whether it's the dress, and I got to put out to the forefront, man. This son of a gun over here has got some doggone good lingerie. Let's put this out into the forefront, man. You know the right lingerie to wear from the external side of things and the style and prevalent aesthetic, if you will, man. The lingerie does kill, my friend.
Thank you. That was actually inspired by my roommate at the time, Nicole Knight. She wore a lot of like lingerie like that, the garter belts with the stockings, and so that was my attempt at imitating her look, and I think I pulled it off.
I think you did it quite justice, man. I think you absolutely did. And I mean, when you think of lingerie and you think just the overall aesthetic, like I mentioned, Miss Roxxie Moth, I mean, that goes a long way with the overall appeal of the overall scene too as well. The sensuality and also just the fact who doesn't like a good lingerie with some stockings and whatnot, man. Who doesn't? It's just, dare I say, good, if I was to put it in the bluntest of terms, right?
Yeah. I am such a sucker for good lingerie. It's just elevates everything. Just people can look better clothed than they do naked. It's crazy.
You know what it is? And I'm going to take it back from my pop culture friends out here. And let me see if a lot of people get this reference. Jermaine Stewart, God rest his soul, had a song back in the 80s. We don't have to take our clothes off to have a good time. Sometimes having a nice aesthetic from the clothes side of things, the nice dress, the lingerie, you know what I'm saying? Like you mentioned, there's something about just the nice clothing aspect of like something from a Victoria's Secret or something like a nice elegant dress. There's so many things that go into it. Variables, man.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Now, I got to say for you over here, now you mentioned Las Vegas, which shout out to everybody on the Vegas side of things. For you, being the one of the adult entertainment capitals of the world, if not the adult entertainment capital of the world, how awesome is that for you to see what you've gotten to do with the town that you've seen in Vegas, not just all over the world? How awesome is that to see from the Vegas side of things, man? Because that's very, very integral to what we've seen within your career thus far and many others on the West side.
Yeah, so Vegas was kind of moving out here a few years ago was like life changing for me at the time because I grew up in the South. I grew up in Georgia in the Atlanta area. And I don't know if you know this, there's not a lot of trans porn being shot in Atlanta. So when I moved out here, I went from getting like very, very few bookings, and most of the bookings I got required me to travel across the country for them. To I was shooting every day, sometimes multiple scenes a day for several years. I've kind of eased back now just because I'm getting a little bit older and I don't quite have the capacity to keep grinding like that like I used to. But there was a long time when I was shooting 2-3 scenes a day for years, and just getting to have so much great talent around me, so many great photographers, producers around me. It was just an absolute blessing. It was wonderful.
And I will say this, speaking of this one, talking about the South over here, I can attest to this. So growing up on Long Island, New York, I'm an East Coast boy through and through, right? But I live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I've been down here for about 7 years now. Geez Louise. But going down here on and off, when you think of the South, ladies and gentlemen, when you in terms of pornographic, whether it be trans porn or what have you, it's a little you know what I'm saying? Just because
Yeah,
and I mean that with the utmost sincerity and respect,
right.
somewhat, because like it's the South, it's very traditional, it's very conservative. But I think with going and taking that leap of faith, so to speak, and going to Vegas and seeing what's more open to whatnot, and I think, and I'll say this with all porn, it's an art form, whether it be trans porn or pornographic material in general, it's an art form. But I think so where you find your stride, so to speak, within Las Vegas, Nevada, and so many places, I think that's wonderful that you got to take that leap because sometimes you have to take that leap, man.
Yeah, like the first big leap for me, I would say was when Groovy shot me for the first time because they had their photographer Omar Wax used to travel up and down the East Coast a lot, so he would shoot me out in Georgia whenever he would stop through the area. And then after that, I got to a point though. I started building a name recognition off of those scenes, started shooting a lot, and building a pretty substantial following. Got my first award nominations, all that stuff, and at that point, I was flying back and forth across the country to Vegas, LA, every month, sometimes a couple of times a month. And I was spending as much time out here on the West Coast as I was at home, and it just didn't make sense to keep living there anymore. And I still love the South. I still love Georgia. It'll always be home for me. But I kind of had to move just for practical reasons. It didn't make sense anymore.
Right. And I think, again, like what I love about it too, as well is, and I'll say this, like whether it be for financial reasons or what have you, like, and I can speak on my end, like when you go from New York to the South, it's a different type of change. It's a different environment and different weather and climate and so many different factors that contribute to one's move. But I think when you're going from Atlanta to Las Vegas, it's a huge jump. But I think with you, like you mentioned, Groovy, which shout out to Groovy because this one has done a lot of great work with Groovy. Got to put that to the forefront, man. But I think when you get to
Yeah.
go for the awards, there's so many stuff with AVNs, the TEAs, if you will. That sets up for a lot of great things. It sets up a lot of great stuff for networking and everything, man. So I mean, everything just kind of comes into fruition. I think the stars align, so to speak.
Yeah, I moved out here like a month before my first big AVN awards,
Mhm.
at least the first AVN show that I actually went to. Um, and just immediately, not only did I have access to the whole Vegas talent pool to work with, but also all the models that would travel into Vegas. Because it's not just the people that live here, it's that there's all these studios here and all these award shows here and everything. So everyone is traveling to Vegas all the time. And so you just get so many different people coming through and so many different opportunities that you don't really get outside of like Vegas and LA.
But that's the thing too, and I think also what I love about it too is it's the two S's, Mrs. Roxy Moth. It's safe and spectacular. I think finding the right studio with anything in pornographic material or any type of talent agency or what have you, it's knowing where you go from the professionalism side of things and who you work with. I think that's what I love also too about it. Whether it's like you've seen the stuff I do with LFC, it's like finding the right school, finding the right safe and spectacular vibes that go with it. I think for you, it's you've been surrounded yourself with a lot of great studios and stuff. And I think that really goes a long way because not only reputation and professionalism with which you have and so many people that you've worked with have, I think that goes a long way with how you set your stone and how you apply your craft within the said industry, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I've been very lucky. I've always tried to surround myself with, performers that are know more than I do and know things that I don't, and it's served me well. And I've always, yeah, I've always been very lucky to be surrounded by so many great people, so much great talent, so many knowledgeable people that can give me advice when I need it.
Oh, agreed. I think what's funny about it too is well, one of the first scenes I ever saw of you was that first transaction scene. You take the guy back to the house, and then we go back to the lingerie side of things. This one over here rocking that lingerie with the garter and everything. You know what I'm saying? And then you
Yeah,
take it back to the house and have that sex scene, man. I think that was probably one of my first introductions to you besides Sherry Allwood. It's probably one of my favorite Roxes, not only just because of the lingerie side of things, but the scene was set so well. You have sex, and then boom, it's a very nice cum shot at the end. I think a lot of that stuff from start to finish really makes a great film, no matter how long it is from 20, 30 minutes. I mean, if you have someone hooked from beginning to end, especially with that scene, I think you're golden, man, with what you do. And it does show on the camera. I think that goes what I love about your work and so many. You definitely see the raw, passionate, and fun side of what you do. And I think that goes a long way, especially with who's wanting to take it in and consuming.
yeah, that was another one of my like just all time favorite scenes. That was such a cool opportunity to get. It was my first time working with Jim Powers as a
Mhm.
director. So that was like a big deal for me. I grew up watching his stuff, back in the 2000s, 2010s. So for me, that was like a getting to work with him was kind of a bucket list, like dream thing. And that scene turned out so well. I'm glad people enjoy it. I still get a lot of compliments on it. And that was a while ago now.
Well, I gotta say, man, no matter how, I mean, I'm gonna put this out to the forefront, Miss Roxy Mouth. I'm gonna say this about your work and a lot of pornographic material out there, man. There's this one word called timeless, Miss Roxy Mouth. It's timeless, if you will. I think a lot of people can really gravitate and really check out your work that really introduce people to your portfolio. And I gotta say this, now this one taking it back to the 2010s over here, you made me smile here because I remember growing up as a 90s kid going into the 2000s. We had our Naughty Americas. We had sites back in the day, folks, before the X Hamsters and the Pornhubs and what have you. We had to, pay to get onto a site or just look at and download and stuff like that. Like to get a little taste, if you will, the appetizers before we get our stuff on a said pornographic website. How awesome is that to see now with the introduction of like OnlyFans and ManyVids and how far the porn and the adult entertainment industry has come to what we had back in the day, right?
Yeah, it's all changed so rapidly. Even just in the few years that I've been in the industry, it's a very different environment. When I started out, OnlyFans was still very new, right? And so at that time, it was like mostly clip sites, and most of the money was in clip sites. So then it very quickly transitioned to the like fan site model, the OnlyFans stuff, and then before all of that, there was the internet studios, right? And then before all that, it was DVDs. And it's just in the span of like 20 years, porn has undergone so many different metamorphoses, and it's all just led to such a variety of content that couldn't have existed 10, 20 years ago. And I'm really grateful for that. I think a lot of the stuff that I shoot probably wouldn't have gotten made more than a decade ago.
So what I love how you bring that point up too as well is because if there's anybody that's seen Roxy Moth's type of vibe here, and I got to put this into the forefront because god dang it, man, you do a lot of these videos and it does come off. I got to say a lot of people like the pissing videos as well because you're mostly also very known for those as well. Like how awesome is that for you? Because a lot of people have that fantasy and they always have that preference and niche when it comes to the fetish side of things. Like the pissing videos that you do like really go out and stand out to the forefront. Some of your best sellers, like a lot of people really enjoy those type of effects.
Yeah, I'm glad they sell as well as they do because I love shooting that kind of stuff. I think it's really fun. It's a kink that I happen to have in my personal life. And it's at the time I first got into the industry, I was doing mostly like solo clip stuff. Because again, I was in the South. I didn't have access. I couldn't shoot with as many people. So a lot of what I was doing was solo stuff. And when you're shooting solo stuff, you kind of just throw stuff at the wall until you find a fetish or two that stick, right? And I realized pretty early on that there weren't a lot of trans girls on the sites that I was using at the time. I was using ManyVids, I was using Clips for Sale, I was using AP Clips. There weren't a lot of trans girls on these sites that were doing P stuff. And there was kind of a market there for that. And every time I would release a P video, it would do really well. And then once I moved out here to Vegas, I was like, okay, how can I take this to the next level and start working with other people who also do P stuff? And then the sites cracked down on that, and now it's like so limited what you can actually sell of P stuff because the site restrictions. And that's forced some innovation too, because that's the reason I started pissing in people's buttholes, was because that was my way of skirting the rule. Yeah, ManyVids doesn't allow piss drinking. So I wanted to shoot piss drinking, but I can't sell piss drinking. So I was like, what's the nastiest thing I can do with piss that's not drinking it? Let's piss in someone's butthole.
First of all, I like how you said I had to find the alternative of instead of drinking piss. I like that. I don't mean to laugh, but I like how you got around that. I like that. But well, I mean, let's put this at the forefront here, Miss Roxxie Moth. I think a lot of people like seeing the sexy vibes of pee going into the butthole. You know what I'm saying? There's stuff.
Yeah, it's hot.
It is. But also, you're kind of like, what's his face? Just like everything that went into Patches O'Houlihan back in Dodgeball. You know, I drink my urine because I like the taste. That's what it's like. Tell them like you're trying to do like a parody of Dodgeball, so to speak, with the urine. Is it sterile to drink my urine? But no, I like the taste. That's what it is. It's like the Patches O'Houlihan type of moment, you know?
Bear Grylls told me it was sterile.
See, like I'm saying, like a lot of people, it's like anger management with Adam Sandler. In Europe, it's not unusual for two men to share a bed. Like there's stuff for different cultures, you know. You never know who you're gravitating towards when people watch.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is.
I have a speculum over there, actually, that I keep for just that purpose.
All right now. Okay, Miss Roxxie Moth. I like your style. I see you. Now, speaking of seeing Roxxie Moth on all the many different sites and all of her many different films, we got to put this out to the forefront, man, because this individual has worked with a lot of trans talent as well, and he puts a lot of hard work into his craft. Smash Thompson, man, you did a nice little interracial scene with Smash. I wanted to touch upon that, because Smash is another one really much taken over the industry as far as the trans point of view. Talk about working with Smash, man.
I am so happy that Smash his career's taken off like it has. I'm so happy for all the success he's had and all the bookings he gets and all the ass he gets, because he's one of my favorite male talents to work with. He was one of the first guys I worked with after moving to Vegas. It was him and Bucky Wright, and it was a wonderful experience. And that was just like solo clip stuff that we shot on my couch, and then that stuff did really well, and then his career took off and my career took off, and before we knew it, we were getting booked for other studios like very consistently. So I've shot with him for Third Sex and a few other studios now, and it's just a great experience every time. He's such a sweetheart, great body, great cock, just awesome to work with. He fucks hard.
So okay, I don't know how you can follow that, but all right. So when you look at great body, great cock over here and fucks hard, I will say this: I have seen a lot of his films, besides with yourself, Miss Roxxie Moth. Like he's worked with a lot of talent, like Bella Bates, who's been on this show, and many of talents. Like I think that's
Bella.
Right? Yes, we're gonna put over Bella Bates here. Shout out to Bella.
Gotta shout out to Bella. I electrocuted her for my BDSM site once.
Okay. Hold on here. All right, we'll come back to that in a second. So we'll go back to Smash for a minute here. So Smash is another one, like you mentioned. I think that's what also makes his scenes great, whether he's having sex in like a bedroom or like when he's doing like stuff where he's like a doctor, whatever, the role play type of stuff. I think that's what makes the scene is just the overall raw and passion of and the fuckery, if you will. We'll put that to the forefront, the fuckery that goes into Smash, since name apropos and very fitting. But all right, Bella Bates, we're going to talk about this electrocution here. So BDSM, very popular genre. Very popular as far as kinks and fetishes that we mentioned here in today's forum, Roxxie Moth. But electrocution, the electrocution. We got to talk about this. I'm curious about this now.
Yeah, that's kind of just something I do for fun. Like I haven't figured out how to get the market for that yet. I'm sure there's people out there that are into it because I'm into it, but I haven't figured out how to like target that market yet. So it's kind of just something I shoot for fun. But I love shooting electricity stuff. I've been shooting electric stuff really since fairly early on in my career. One of my first scenes was for kink.com, and I'm pretty sure I used a zapper in that scene. So it's been something that's been in my wheelhouse for a while and trying to branch out and explore it more.
I think what a lot of people can take from that as well, besides the fact that you're willing to try new things and you're kind of daredevil in your own right, which much respect. I think you got to go balls to the walls of what you do, Roxxie Moth. But I got to say, after knowing about the electricity that you do, man, I wouldn't want to piss you off, man. Next thing I know, I'm going to be electrocuted over here, for God's sake. I'm going to be looking like Daniel Stern in Home Alone 2, where he gets electrocuted and the hair sticking up the whole night. Oh, my goodness. You know what I'm saying?
I actually just made a new toy for that this week that I can't wait to try out. I'm so excited.
Fair enough. I like your style.
Yeah, I got some new metal claws, like metal finger claws, and I glued them into the inside of a leather glove, so that now I can run an electric current through someone's skin and then shock them with the claws, so it like focuses the electricity into a point. It's going to be so evil. It's going to be so fun.
You know what it is too? Okay, this so evil, so fun here. I like that just because it's very sadomasochistic, but also at the same time too, like you mentioned, there's definitely a market for that. Like there is somebody right now who listen to this podcast and who get to see Miss Roxxie's work. A lot of people just want to just get electrocuted. I'm definitely sure there's going to be a big market for that. There's somebody out there that's going to love that, and I appreciate that. How you really open up to the fact of, hey, you may want to find something new, and if you like it, I'll electrocute the shit out of you. I like your honesty and bluntness. I appreciate that.
Go to femtop.xxx if you want to see me electrocute some sluts.
Can we also put that over to as well, your website? I'm glad you mentioned that too as well, because we touched upon it last show, but I want to definitely put it out to the forefront here. My God, woman, like from everything that you do from in front of the camera, behind the camera, you are a great director, number one, but also number two, that site is badass, man. I got to say, first and foremost, you got a badass site, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very proud of the work I've gotten to do for Femtop. It's been really something that I'm passionate about, and I've been in the kink world since way before I was even in porn. That was just something that I was always into. I was always into that lifestyle, always into that community. One of my first serious relationships in college, circling back.
Yes.
I was like 19, 20, and my first like serious adult relationship was with a professional dominatrix. And I was actually a 24/7 like BDSM submissive at the time. Like I was collared and everything. And that was sort of my exposure to that world. And then it's through that I actually even got into porn in the first place. So to now come full circle and be able to shoot that kind of stuff, direct that kind of stuff has been, really, really important to me. Because that was always my goal, was to get to a point where I could shoot more of that stuff.
Right. And what I love about that too, as well, is first of all, circling back to college, I like your style, number one, again. But number two, like that stuff, we talk about experimenting and really getting into your first relationship being like the BDSM dominatrix type of vibes. It reminds me, and I'll take everybody back to this, like when MTV had the True Life series, and this is like early on into the series, right? Like one of their first like True Life, I'm a dominatrix, and it showcases the art form of the ball and gag and really shows the submissive side of things and the mistresses and everything. Like for
wait.
Okay,
wait.
hold on.
I got the ball muzzle.
Oh my goodness!
Right there.
I see it. Okay, I like that. Now, all right, we're gonna put the ball muzzle into perspective.
I have two ring gags up there as well. I have a rubber ring gag with a stopper and then a metal spider gag.
Okay. So it's funny you brought that up, and I'm glad that you showed that to the camera, because if I remember correctly, so this was like mid-2000s when this came out, I'll say like 05, 06, Roxxie Moth. That legit was like what I think the dude had in his mouth was exactly like that, the red ball in his mouth. That
it's classic, the red ball.
Yep, the red ball, yes. But that's it, man. And I think a lot of people, not only the normalization of it, but I think a lot of people who are into that, like, and I applaud MTV for that. Like, it's more reality based now, but who wouldn't want to find out about like dominatrix and stuff that people are into, right? I think that was a great series.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really cool to just like, I think people should branch out more. I think people should experiment more in the bedroom and just in general, and stop being so afraid to try new stuff. So I'm glad I get to be a lot of people's first exposure to that. A lot of the models I shoot for FemTop, that are people that I've known in the industry for a while and that haven't done much BDSM stuff, and it means a lot to me that so many of them have trusted me to be one of their first times doing either BDSM in general or like specific harder BDSM activities.
Well, I think what it is too, and we talked about the professionalism and there I said the etiquette, because there is etiquette in everything that we do,
Oh
especially in
yeah.
the entertainment industry. I think with you, and I can tell right now, just because not only the fact that you're my friend, Miss Roxy Moth, but you do have that vibe about you, and I say that with the utmost sincerity and respect. I think that's the vibe, man. I think if you put out good vibes and you put it out into the universe, so to speak, people will come. So I think people flock to you.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
very welcome. No, I truly mean that. And another thing I got to mean over here, this one, I had a Variety Itzel on the show too as well not too long ago. I got to put her over because she's been killing it as well. I know you two had a very hardcore, passionate scene. I got to put that out there. Another one of
I
yours is
love her.
she's
I need to talk to her more. She and I had a great scene together, and I haven't worked with her again since, and I need to do that. I need to set that up.
she is the bomb. For those who have not seen Variety Itzel's thing, is she's another one like Roxy, and I equate it to the fact that you both are very passionate and you put the attention to detail, but also at the same time you have great chemistry with each other because again the synergy just shows on camera with you two.
Yeah. I try to I try to be easy to work with, and she brought a great energy to set. So I think it was just a very, very fun, very fun, easy time for all of us, and it shows.
I think what I love it too about it as well is this one puts the fantasy out in there as well. Like we mentioned today's forum, circling back to that. I mean, there's been puppy play, there's been fairy stuff with you. You're very much into like I love the fact of like there's anime mixed into it as well because who doesn't love anime? But you and your puppy play and your fairies, man. I do like the fact that you incorporate that nerdiness and dorkiness into it as well because who doesn't love that type of stuff? Number one, but number two, that's also very cool and it showcases your personality.
Yeah, I am a repository of weird, obscure niche interests, and anime is one of those, and puppy play is one of those. I got my hood over there. I'm actually thinking I might hit up there's a puppy play meetup tonight, so I might actually go there after this if I have time. So it's been, I get to do a lot of fun stuff, and I try not to censor myself online. I know a lot of people that have burned out and dealt with a lot of frustration from their porn persona, having to maintain their porn persona, and my porn persona is just me. So I try to be forthright and open about all my weird niche interests, and I hope other people appreciate that.
No, and what I love about it too is, first of all, not weird at all. Because I think, in a way, it's a good weird, and I say that as well with the utmost sincere respect. Because we all got that good weirdness about it. We're all weird in our own ways, but I think liking the fact of anime and you amplifying yourself because it's you, just with the volume turned up, so to speak. I think that's wonderful. And I mean, for those who've not checked out this one on Twitter over here, you're very open about a lot of things, and I love it. So I mean, you put yourself onto the forefront, man. And I mean, I can respect that. I think you know who you are, and I think that's wonderful. And I think that makes you not only golden, but a lot of people can really just gravitate towards that once again. But I think if you're not true to thyself, then why not? Why the fuck are you even doing what you're doing? You got to be true to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't like having to feel like I'm playing a character 24/7. I if something catches my eye, I want to talk about it and I want to shout it out. So I actually had a funny experience this morning where I was ranting on Twitter about a book that I just read, and the author followed me on Twitter immediately after. And now the author of this book knows all of my weird, obscure, innermost turmoil as I was reading this tragic book.
Okay, so now I'm curious. What's the title of this book? Because I may want to check this out. I think a lot of our fans of literature here, we want to check it out. What's the name of the book?
The Hades Calculus by Maria Ying. It's a lesbian cyberpunk mecha retelling of the Greek myth of Hades and Persephone.
Okay.
Yep. So it's like Hades and Persephone, but as like mech pilots, and also they're both girls.
That is an interesting interpretation. Yes, I'm familiar with the Hades set of things, but yes, okay. Now that's
Yeah,
very interesting. Now you're gonna have to make. I'm gonna have to put that to my book
it's
list.
good.
Okay.
It's good, but I was really mad because it ends on a cliffhanger.
Okay. Well,
And
I mean,
the author saw me ranting about the cliffhanger and retweeted it. So so now the author knows how upset they made me.
okay. So now, how funny is that though? So the author follows you, and then she looks at your page. I'm like, oh, this woman is into a lot of unique things here, and then she knows that you're
Yeah,
so.
she's gonna scroll down. She's gonna see like piss content. She's gonna see puppy play. She's gonna see me like talking about chess. She's gonna see me on there like just talking about all kinds of weird shit. Probably posting hentai or something.
It's kind of like in 2006. I'm going to take everybody back because this is actually one of Will Ferrell's very underrated movies because when he's not doing the comedy and stuff like that, he did a movie called Stranger Than Fiction with him, Maggie Gyllenhaal, and Queen Latifah's in it, and Dustin Hoffman, and all these great actors and actresses. And it's like what the author in there, every book that she's written, the main character dies, and it's just like, why do you have to kill everybody in your damn books? That's like one of the main focal points. It's like, how come everybody has to die? And he goes, well, that's how the story goes. It's like, but why does everybody have to die? Why can't you just let me live? Because I'm an actual person that you're writing about. Why do I have to die? That's what it kind of relates to me. For those who've ever seen Stranger Than Fiction.
Yeah, I actually haven't. I'll have to check it out.
You have to check it out. It's a very underrated role. So the movie's about Will Ferrell's character, and not to give, I won't give too much spoilers. So his character is like, he has all the traits that this character has in this author's book, right? But she doesn't know, the author doesn't know that he's an actual person. So it's like, I hear you in my head narrating my life, and I know I'm gonna die. What the heck are you telling me here that I'm gonna die? So he hears the voice of the author writing it down and how the book is going to lead to into the ending and conclusion, right? But it's like, I'm a real person. You're killing a real person. So it's very interesting from that point of view.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that. I the characters in my stories usually die too. It's really tragic.
Okay.
It makes me sad.
Well, first and foremost, man, from the electricity side of things and dying and stories and the tragedies, you write sins, not tragedies, dare I say, Panic at the Disco, hello. But I will say, with what these stories have brought to you thus far, Miss Roxxie Moth, from everything that you've worked with, from JD Jupiter, from everybody that you've done, I got to put over Jay Jupiter as well, because you two, not only chemistry, but also with the trans college roommates and everything that you two have done. I got to say, from your inception to the adult entertainment industry and the names that we've shouted out who definitely deserve their just due, I really do love the work that you're doing, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you, Rox.
Thank you. Thank you. I am very happy. I've gotten to do so much cool stuff over the years because of this industry, and I really love it. I'm really just grateful to everyone who's supported my work over the years and all the awesome talents I've had the chance to work with.
So when you're not killing people in your stories and your tragedies and having authors follow you and retweet your posts because of you're upset with the conclusion of the book and the cliffhangers, I will say this. What I love about you is too, and I say this again, you're probably one of the most unique but fun, entertaining sons of guns that I've always get to interact with. And I definitely will have you back on for a round 3, because as they say, 3 times the charm. I'd love to have you back on the show.
I would love to anytime.
I got you. And now, before we close this out, I always love asking this question because we touched upon in today's forum about the adult entertainment industry being an art form, from the people that you've worked for, from the different scenes and the variety that it provides. And I always live by the quote that life is an art form, and we're all applying our crafts, and we all continue to apply our crafts in amazing fashion. So for you, whether it's with Jay Juniper, whether it's with Belle DeWar, who we mentioned, Smash Thompson, Bella Bates, electrifying and electrocuting over here, and so many people from your scenes with Jim Powers, from Sherry Allwood, will be here all day. From your legacy and your lineage, what advice would you give to the younger talents who have on the come up right now, who want to get into the adult entertainment industry, find their kinks, find their preferences? What advice would you give them for those that really are on the come up in today's industry?
Oh, that's a tough one. Gosh. I don't know. Just don't be afraid to branch out. Don't be afraid to reach out to new models outside your circle, and don't be afraid to try kinks that are outside your circle within reason. Obviously, make sure you do your due research on the safety aspect of it. But Yeah, don't be afraid to try stuff because you never know what's going to hit and what's going to sell. So just always be open to new ideas and new ways of shooting new things.
I think the authenticity and genuinity that you provided in that statement adhere to those words, ladies and gentlemen. Beautifully said, Miss Roxxie Moth. And from your fairiness and your puppy play and everything that goes into what you do, here's to many moments and memories created and moments and memories yet to be created, because the future is bright and the stars will align for you, my friend. And where can we follow you? Not only on many different sites, like you mentioned, Fem, and everything that you do, promote that website and promote your Twitter, your Instagram. Where can we follow you, Rox?
You can find me on Twitter at Roxxie Moth. That's Roxy with 2 X's and an IE, Moth. You can also find me on Instagram under the same name. You can find me on ManyVids under the same name. You can find me at my BDSM website, femtop.xxx. That's FEMTOP.xxx. And also check me out on Chatterbait. I cam sometimes, though I'm kind of on a break from that at the moment.
Let me put this out to the forefront here as well. First of all, links will be in the description below this audio, folks, in this interview. Man, I got to say on the camming side of things too as well, I think what also gravitated me towards you, and a lot of cam models too, because a lot of people transition to the adult entertainment industry. How awesome is it to really just showcase your confidence and really showcase yourself on the cam modeling thing? Because that's a big audience in its own right, right?
Yeah, camming was my primary source of income for several years. Honestly, I make more camming than I do from my porn when I cam. So it's something I'm very grateful for, because I'm not held to when I have people to work with, and I'm not held to as many restrictions on, length of content and what kind of content I can shoot. And also, I love camming. I love getting to interact with my fans directly. And I think it's also given me kind of a unique performance style as well. I get a lot of comments from photographers that are like, oh, you look really good, not just like in the photos, but like in every frame of the video. And it's because I'm constantly on cam and I'm constantly, in like that mode of just posing for hours on end and going from one pose to another fluidly. So camming, I think, has taught me a lot, and also just been a really great way to interact with my fans.
And I will say this to the forefront, the community and everybody from the fans and the interaction, that's what it's all about. And last thing I'll mention to you, just because we mentioned on the last show, I got to put this into the forefront. This one over here is a big gamer, and I got to put this into the forefront as well to reiterate my point. What are some of the games you've been doing, man? Because I know you got that nerdiness and that vibes to you. What's some of the games that you've been really into, man? Because I know you're a big gamer.
I'm actually kind of a fake gamer girl. Most of the games I play are from like 20 years ago.
It's still games, so we'll still put
it's still games, but it's not the same,
Oh no!
I've been playing some Age of Empires 2. I've been playing some Pokemon. Been playing a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh as well. I've been getting back into specifically GOAT format Yu-Gi-Oh, and also playing some like JRPG stuff, some visual novels. I actually promised a friend that I'd play through one of the visual novels that he really likes if he promised to read one of the books that I really like. So
okay.
I've been, that's kind of been where I've been at lately. It's mostly strategy stuff and story-driven stuff like that.
First of all, don't even call yourself a fake gamer. I like that. You made me laugh with that. But no, I'm the same way, because I'm very OG with like you mentioned the Pokemons, and like I have old sports games that I still play. And first of all, nostalgia only is like a very big genre. Like who doesn't love nostalgia, number one, but number two, I think it's something just about the graphics and the style from what we had back in the day to what it is now. And there's still graphics, but there's something just about those old school games, man.
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of get it now. For a long time, I when you're a kid, you're like, oh, why don't old people get into the new stuff? Why do old people just keep listening to the same music and watching the same movies forever? Now it's like I'm old and I kind of get it. It's like exhausting to keep up with every new thing that comes out when I already have stuff that I know I like.
All right, I'm going to put this out here, since we're talking about our old heads and when we are literally starting to sound like our parents. We're getting that. It's like, and I mean that real respectfully, because we don't really understand it when we're like in our teens and we want to do this. But as we get to like our older years, like we get to like our 30s and stuff, like I just turned 32, and I'm just like, man, like like why would I want to do that when I have this or when I have that? So I concur with you, man, but it's like some of that stuff, like you really kind of like as a kid, you're like, yeah, why don't they like this? But then as you get older, it's like everything changes and adapts. But it's like even some of the newer stuff, I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like I like what I like, even as we get into our 30s, right?
Yeah, my friends will like mention some new game that they're playing, and it's like half the time I've never heard of it, and the other half of the time I look at it and I'm like, that looks cool, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go back to playing Pokemon.
Yeah, that's how it is, and I think again, you can't beat the classics, you can't beat nostalgia, but I think at the end of the day, it is this. I think it's more of a learning experience and an adaptation of what we like, and then we pass on to the newer generations if they want to listen and take adhere to it. But I mean, it's classics, man. It's timeless, and what is very timeless, like I mentioned earlier in today's forum, is the one and only Miss Roxxie Moth, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want to check out this show, check out our first interview, SteveandMikeShow.com, and check us out on the Mike Larkin 92 YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. SM Show on MCL 92 and Larkin _92 and M Larkin MB on the Instagram front. And I think the only other thing I'll say too, as well as we mentioned our girl Ziva Faye in the beginning of the show, man. Ziva is undefeated right now in LFC Lingerie Fighting Championship. I got to say, Roxxie Moth, if you ever want to get into that MMA side of things and get your scrap on, you and Ziva Faye, I think, would have a fun time getting into that ring, man, if you ever decide you want to do that.
Someone would have to teach me some ground fighting. I got a little bit of experience with Muay Thai, but I have no experience with like grappling and ground fighting. So okay. I'd have to learn that. But if someone's willing to teach me, I'm down to give it a shot.
Hell to the yeah, man. I just put that into the universe, and I hope it happens, man. And Muay Thai, you badass. Much respect, because that is a very disciplined craft, and to own that, I like that. Shout out to the Muay Thaiers out there.
Shin City, baby.
Yeah. All right now, Miss Roxxie Moth. So with that being said, on that note, thank you guys for listening to another edition of On the Mic with Mike. Round 2 at Roxxie Moth, and more round 3s and more on and on to the break of dawn with this lovely human being. And as I always said to end each and every one of these shows, beauty, strength, and dominance, the 3 key elements that make women the work of art that they are. And Roxxie Moth, my wonderful friend, I appreciate you, and I include you in those sentiments. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much as well.
To me, I love the way you're on to me. Looking at you, looking like you're wondering if we're here for the same reason. And now that you wanna lay in the sun, getting love drunk, sticking like honey. Yeah, I bet you're here for some fun with that someone, feeling that something. If you're looking for a good time, honey, I'm right here. If you're looking for the good life, good vibes, honey, I'm right here. And I'm waiting for you. And I love you in your summer skin. Looking at you,